Hello everyone, I am Dr. Fayaz Meman from Mumbai and I'll be speaking on implantology in arthroscopy. Here, by implantology, we mean the study of implant materials used in arthroscopy and the evolution of their designs. Ever wondered why we keep on changing our implant designs, the implant material those we keep using, from stainless steel to titanium, then bioabsorbables, then someone comes with biocomposite materials, then say no, now biostable. Ultimately, we had to attach soft tissue to the bone. There is vast material in the literature about biomaterials. However, we rarely find these kind of literatures in orthopedics or arthroscopy journals. So the purpose of this lecture is to review the implant materials, try to understand why the newer materials have come, whether there was any shortcoming in the previous materials, if there was shortcoming, what was it and how it is been overcome, why are the newer designs of implants coming for the same purpose, and whether they are really useful for us, compare them so that the best one of them can be used in a given surgery. To understand this, we need to go back to basics. So, what is an ideal implant? Ideal implant is the one which provides adequate mechanical fixation, completely degrades once no longer needed, and should be completely replaced by bone. So far, no material has shown superiority on all the applications. As we all know, interference screws provide press fit between the bone and the graft. Suture anchors tie soft tissue to the bone, and all these implants are made up of either metals or polymers or composites. Amongst the metals, it's either stainless steel, which now it's no more used, titanium, then amongst the polymers, it's bioabsorbable polymer or a biostable polymer, and there are biocomposites which are used. The advantage of metals is that they are rigid and they are reliable so long as fixation is concerned. Now, this is a typical metal interference screw. You can see that the screwdriver tip is hardly 20% in length as compared to the whole length of the implant. Now, this is because the metal is rigid, and while giving the torsional force while putting in the implant into the tunnel, the rigidity of the implant doesn't allow any relative motion from tip to the bottom, and thus this makes it a reliable fixation modality. However, due to same reason, it can cause graft laceration and implant migration. The other disadvantages of metals is the MRI or CT scan artifacts and a difficult revision surgery. So let's try and understand why in the first place stainless steel was replaced by titanium. What happened was, at the bone implant interface, the researchers found that there is a fibrous membrane in case of stainless steel or other metals, whereas in titanium it acts as ceramic, that is, it forms a surface layer of calcium and phosphate without any evidence of any fibrous layer, which means there is a good osteointegration at this bone implant interface, which causes better hold of implant in the long run. This is the reason why we find that it's more difficult to remove a titanium implant as compared to stainless steel implant in an open case. The same reason why we were told to use titanium implants in case of elderly population with trauma in case of open surgeries. This is the graphical representation of the bone implant interface. in case of stainless steel as compared to titanium. You can see that the interface in case of stainless steel has got more of fibrous tissue, and that in case of titanium has got osteoid tissue. In case of larger implants, there are various methods of surface modification which have been tried out. So while everything was okay with titanium, it was found that whenever revision surgery was required, of course all the surgeries may not be successful or they might be repeat trauma, and a revision surgery would be required. So in case of a revision surgery, what happened was these metal implants which were there inside, they never got absorbed. That is the reason it was found that the same tunnels had probably widened, or it was difficult to remove these implants, and there had to be 2 or 3 staged surgeries for revision, and all these problems led to the thinking that we need some kind of an implant which gets absorbed or which can be drilled through in case of a revision scenario. So a search of ideal implant led the surgeons to the polymers. Polymer was first developed in 1960s, and by 70s it became popular amongst orthopedic surgeons because of its non-toxicity and biocompatibility. They were found not to be interfering with imaging and could be drilled through in revision surgeries. They ranged from soft to hard, pliable to robust, and transparent to opaque. By definition, polymers are solid non-metallic compounds composed of small repeating units, also called monomers, covalently bonded together to form a macromolecular chain, as you can see here. These polymer chains can move relative to one another without breaking covalent bonds, allowing it to deform without fracturing. Polymers are named from the monomers from which they are synthesized, that is, example, polyethylene from ethylene, etc. They can either be homopolymers or copolymers like D or L. They are semicrystalline or amorphous, like homopolymers, example PLLA, or copolymers, example PLDLA, respectively. This is how a bioabsorbable implant looks like in arthroscopy. The advantages of bioabsorbable polymers are that they do not interfere with imaging, and the fixation is similar or better as compared to metal screws because of their flexibility. However, the disadvantages of bioabsorbable polymers are that if it gets degraded too quickly, the monomer released can cause foreign body reaction, synovitis, osteolysis, interosseous cyst formation, intra-articular inflammatory reaction, systemic allergic response, intra-articular foreign body. If the degradation is too quickly, it may happen so that the graft incorporation into the bone has not occurred. It may also interfere with bone formation due to acidic nature of the monomer byproducts. So to overcome this issue of faster degradation, they use the mixture of homopolymer and copolymer in fixed proportion like PLLA and PLDLA, so that the degradation is slower. These polymers get completely absorbed by 7 to 10 years. However, there is a problem. When completely reabsorbed, it is not replaced by bone but instead by calcific fibrous tissue, which means that the tunnel is no more bone but just a calcific fibrous tissue. The bone implant interface also consists of fibrous tissue and there is no bony ingrowth. Now this leads us to biostable polymers. Now what are these biostable polymers? They offer all the advantages of bioabsorbable polymers, but these don't get absorbed, which means there are no complications or adverse reactions, those which were caused by bioabsorbable polymers. The example is PEEK material, polyether ether ketone. It is highly unreactive, resistant to chemical, thermal or radiation induced degradation with excellent mechanical properties. What is the big advantage is there is no post-operative interference with imaging and is a stable fixation without biodegradation. However, this remains in body as long as the person lives. This does not get incorporated into the body and there is no absorption and thus there is no bone formation within the implant. However, a big disadvantage of this material is that like metals, there is very poor osseointegration at bone implant interface, thereby making us stand at back to square one, except that this implant can be drilled through in case of a revision scenario and it doesn't interfere with imaging modalities. Of course, surface modifications are being tried to overcome this disadvantage. This is how a PEEK implant looks. Now the above mentioned disadvantages of bioabsorbable and biostable materials leads us to biocomposite materials. Now what are these biocomposite materials? They have the same advantages of polymers, however they have the added benefit of bone formation within the implant, and this is how these biocomposite implants look like. These biocomposite implants were originally made up of ceramic material, that is bioactive component only. However, these materials were found to be too very brittle for torsional forces intraoperatively. So they were very easily broken. So they were then combined with polymers and now these implants consist of two different materials. One is ceramic, that is the bioactive component which allows the bony ingrowth inside the implant, and the other is polymer, that is bioabsorbable component. Now here what happens is that once the implant is in vivo in the body, what happens is that the polymer slowly starts degrading and over few years it gets degraded. At the same time, the bioactive component of the ceramic allows the bony ingrowth, thereby completely replacing the implant with the bone. The bioactive component of ceramics is usually hydroxyapatite, beta tricalcium phosphate, a biphasic calcium phosphate, that's hydroxyapatite and beta TCP as it is called, calcium carbonate or calcium sulfate. The recent studies have shown that beta TCP is far more superior, and the latest implants those are coming has got 30% of beta TCP and 70% of polymer, out of which 85% and 15% of different polymers are present. These polymers get degraded, and due to the release of calcium and phosphorus, there is good osteoconductivity, thus providing scaffold for the bone formation. The advantages of biocomposite implants are that there is increased bone formation at implant bone interface as compared to polymers. There is complete resorption of implant and simultaneous bone formation within the implant, thereby replacing implant by bone itself over 7 to 10 years. No or very mild adverse clinical response as compared to bioabsorbable polymers. So these are the factors influencing better bone formation in biocomposite implants. Porosity, biphasic calcium phosphate shows better integration. Uh, Hydroxyapatite and beta TCP have different mechanisms. However, both of them show that their activity is pH dependent, etc. However, brittleness of implants is a key issue with those made up of biocomposite materials. To overcome all these disadvantages, we need to also revisit the screw geometry. This is a very important factor whatever the composition of implant is. The thread diameter, the core diameter, the screw length, the gap size, the buttress geometry, the drive-in mechanism, everything has got its place and needs to be modified according to its need. In general, the increased thread to bone surface area results in increased fixation strength. Here you can see two titanium implants of same size of two different companies. On the left hand side, it is a sharp thread and the eye is way above the anchor. So the anchor is solid and the eye of the anchor through which the threads are passed are almost more than half the length of the anchor itself. This has got two disadvantages. One is that the surface area to the bone is less. Second is, in order for the eye to go inside the bone, you need to put the implant further inside the cancellous bone. Whereas on the right hand side, when you see, the implant has been modified in such a way that the threads are slightly thicker. The implant to bone surface area is increased, thereby better osteointegration. And second, the eye is placed inside the implant. The implant is slightly hollow so that the implant need not be pushed inside the bone and takes little amount of cortical area when it is put inside. This helps in better osteointegration and better purchase of the bone. Here you can see the previous version and the newer version of the biocomposite implant of the same company, wherein in the previous version they found that the brittleness of implant is more and there is more chance of screw breakage. They increased the pitch of the screw and increased the slope of the thread so that the implant can be easily put into the tunnel, thereby reducing the torsional forces while introducing the implant. Also, you can see that in case of these biocomposite implants, the screwdriver length is such that the screwdriver is inserted right up to the tip of the implant so that the torsional forces are uniformly distributed across the screw and the chances of breakage is less. So these are the modifications usually found in case of these biocomposite implants. So these are all the implants and their compositions available commercially in the market. They can be used as per the need and the budget of the patient. According to some researchers, magnesium alloy based implants hold promising results for the future. According to them, these implants are as strong as metal implants and get completely absorbed in the body without any side effects. Initial few reports have been showing promising results. However, in the years to come, we would come to know how efficient these implants are. I thank you very much for your kind attention and also thank Bombay Orthopedic Society and Dr. Roshan Wade to have called me as faculty for this prestigious advanced arthroscopy course at KEM Hospital. Thank you very much.